Well, hello everyone, it's Jordan Howie here, and in this video I will be talking about how we are all one race. So to begin with, we are all one race, which is the human race. And how this is that we are all descendants of Adam and Eve. And this is also proven by biology. And so, this refutes the common misconception that claims there are multiple races. As the concept of multiple races was fueled by evolutionary fairy tales. The evolutionary fairy tales are not scientific whatsoever. And in fact, scripture refutes evolution in Genesis, throughout Genesis 1 and even in 6. Since we know that us humans have always reproduced according to our kinds, animals have always reproduced according to their kinds. So this means that humans have never evolved, and neither did animals. And then whenever racist people would say, oh, those people are not of my kind, or things like that, what they're really saying is nonsensical. Since all humans are of the same kind. Since we are all of the human kind. So that means that there is only one race, which is the human race. And sometimes it's also called the Adamic race. In Genesis 1:26 through 28 we read, And God said, Let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him. Male and female created he them. And God blessed them, and God said unto them, Be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth. So as far as evolutionary fairy tales, if you're wondering if evolution falls under the category of false teaching or heresy, well, evolution falls under the category, well, theologically speaking, evolution falls under the category of false teaching. And that since believing in it will not necessarily affect your salvation, although there is the risk of being led astray if you were to believe in it. Since evolution falls under the category of false teaching. And it falls under the category of false teaching merely because it contradicts the scripture. In the regarding the topic of creation, so if society would have always accepted that we are all one race, then we would not have the ethnic tensions that we have today. And racism would basically be non-existent in that scenario. So racism is not a skin issue, but it is a sin issue. And it is a sin issue that was widely fueled by evolutionary fairy tales. So when you compare creation and evolution together, we know that creation teaches that we are all one race. Meanwhile, evolution says that there are multiple races. And it's pretty obvious which of these two views is the superior view. It's creation that is. So evolution fuels racism. Meanwhile, creation destroys racism. And it's also very likely that the evolutionary worldview is also the reason why Margaret Sanger wanted to kill black babies. And she was the founder of Planned Parenthood, which is a corrupt organization, which is a corrupt pro-abortion organization. And there are so much dark stuff that happened in history as a result of evolutionary fairy tales. For example, there is a man from Africa who was placed in a New York zoo sometime in the early 1900s. And as he was facing the zoo, he was treated like an animal. And that was one of the worst cases of dehumanization of another person that has ever happened in history. And this dark event in history took place because of evolutionary fairy tales. And sadly, he became depressed because of how the people made fun of him and pretty much treated him like some wild animal. When in reality he was not a wild animal, but was a person created in God's image. So even back then, there was an attack on God's image. And the dehumanization of others happens far too often. It's from things like people of a certain ethnicity being treated like wild animals because of evolutionary fairy tales. And then you have people who hop from bed to bed and treating the opposite gender like sex toys. And then you have people with mental disorders being picked on in school, all because of how they are. And so scripture provides sufficient proof that we are all one race. And that is the human race. So that means that a multi-ethnic marriage is no different than a same ethnicity marriage. So there is zero difference in between if a black man marries an Asian woman or if a Russian man marries a Russian woman. There is no difference in between the two, since we are all one race. So that is it for this video. Have a nice day, and goodbye.